Hey, true believers. Chris Mac coming at you today with Sinestro number 4. And I actually really enjoyed this book. I will admit, it's written by Cullen Bunn, and I have a love-hate relationship with his writing style. Because there's times where I'll read something, I'm like, this is good, and then other times I'm thinking, oh boy, this is gonna just keep going, isn't it? And so at least with this one, yes, it's a build-up issue. But it's interesting because you're introduced to a new character, and they actually leave some like mystery behind who they are. So before we jump into that, we got to do that thing that they like to do where they put the credits at the very, very end, which I find frustrating. But this book is called Indoctornation. I've not had enough coffee. And as I just said, this is Cullen Bunn writing. Penciler is Robson Rocha. Inker is Jonathan Glapion. Colorist is Jonathan Wright. Letterer, Dave Sharp. Cover is Brad Walker. And here's everyone else working on the book. This particular issue is a variant. And as I've said about variants in the past, I wish if you're going to do a variant, exaggerate on what's going on in the book. As where this one's called a bombshell variant. Absolutely nothing to do with what's going on in the book. I mean, it's a nice piece. It'd be great for a poster, but as a variant, it's like, I think that's another reason why variants kind of start to chap my butt if it doesn't have anything to do with the book. So with that said, the print date on this was October 2015, and we're introduced to this character called Nax, I believe is how you pronounce it. And she, from what I understand in the dialogue, is stranded on this planet and is distraught. And I like how here, there's this like dead color, greens, blacks, muted blues. And then when she looks up over the horizon, boom, Nax of the Nadroth Collective. You have the ability to instill great fear. And then there's like that phoenix effect around her, and it says, welcome to the Sinestro Corps. And I just kind of like how this sort of in a sense of rebirth of this character. Now, pay attention to what happens here. She has this power, and she's saying, I can fly. I can fly, and she actually starts getting excited. Now, let's leave it at that on this page. But what I like how she says, I'm free. Negative. Your life is promised to the Sinestro Corps. And she's like, well, what's the Sinestro Corps? But before she can answer, boom, the big man himself comes to indoctrinate her. And I love how they do this Dutch angle of looking up at Sinestro and the power that he wields as the leader of the Sinestro Corps. And so here, I like how even though Sinestro can be smug and kind of focus on himself a lot, you can still see that there's some part of a normal person inside him. He's like, I don't even know what a lantern is. He goes, you'll learn. And this is why you should consider yourself privileged. It's been a long time since I personally taught a new recruit. So you can kind of hear this sort of like semi-enthusiasm in his voice until he says, not since. And he trails off, face in shadow. Here, he is talking about, obviously, Hal Jordan, because Hal Jordan was his greatest pupil. Now, if you're kind of wondering what they did back in, 1990, I think it was, they did a kind of a retelling of Hal Jordan's origin called Emerald Dawn 1 and 2. And this is kind of where, Sinestro kind of takes over Hal Jordan, and they start learning from one another, surprisingly. But Sinestro kind of gets power hungry and is sort of kicked to the curb, and that's how Hal sort of stepped up and became sort of the most recognized lantern of 2814, I think is what Earth Sector is. But anyway, I like the hurt in his face, the art visually showing you that there's this deep sorrow within him. But before he lets it slip, it doesn't matter. this is your orientation next. From this day forward. And boom, the 90s are back, baby. He says, you are an officer in the most feared peacekeeping force in the universe. And I'm so happy what I meant by the 90s is back. You get to flip the panel and you get this gorgeous artwork. And what's funny here is, Sinestro's talking about how order through fear. And Nax is like, so you want me to be a scary police officer? And Sinestro's like, that's an oversimplification. So it's interesting because as I was talking about, remember how Nax said, I'm free, and how she's acting really excited? I just want you to keep that in mind as we keep kind of continuing on this story. Now, Nax, again, here is kind of acting hesitant. And I like how Sinestro just says, one moment. And then you reflip the page. And boom. Just like when we were introduced to him in the beginning of the book, you just see this power that he has over his power ring. He just knows how to instill fear, how to control, and when need be, which is very rare, how to be merciful. So, Sinestro goes on to talk about how these ships were once squadrons of space pirates. When their pilots died thanks to flying through a cloud of cosmic radiation, the AI ships took over. After so many raids and invasions, the computers had developed a taste for destruction. They were engines of chaos and therefore targeted for elimination. And so he's trying to kind of show what they're doing, but Nax still acting pensive. So what he does here is he says, Ring, provide me a summary of Nax's eligibility. Nax, a member of the Nadroth Collective. The Nadroth Collective engages in scientific excursions throughout known specters. Conduct their experiments, the collective abducts sentient species from living worlds. Nax is one of the rare collective members with the ability, and you don't get everything. This is what I meant by the character's kind of shrouded in mystery. They're like, that's enough. I know who I am. I don't need your ring to explain it to me. And at that point, Sinestro knows he has his recruit now. And so here it gets a little boring because there I was liking the buildup of how they were introducing Nax, but what they have to do is also explain plots that's going to be happening. So here at Sinestro's new HQ, you see that they're rebuilding the original Manhunters that were the first things the Owens used before recruiting people from different universes, because the Manhunters here have no emotion. And they actually speak, this is no man shall escape Sinestro's might. And I like how he's just like, not bad. And I like how every time he looks down, his face is shrouded, and all you can really see are his little beady eyes, and it just shows the creepiness that is in Sinestro's soul. So anyway, he's dropped off with, I can never pronounce her name. I think it's Sornik. I believe it's his daughter. And she's trying to figure out why these people, they were infected with something that it's called the paling, and essentially gives them no emotion. And here is where you see how Nax is part of that Nadroth Collective, is able to do things scientifically. She calls this a scientific vivisection. Psychic vivisection. She says it's agonizing if you're not put under. So you kind of start to see the type of people that she comes from. And now, here, she's talking about how her people are supposed to be logical without emotion, like a Vulcan, essentially. But here we've seen her excited. We've seen her hesitant. And she essentially says, I wasn't a very good student from on my planet. So you see that there's more to this character, and that's what people want when they read a new character, is they want depth and complexity, not one dimension. That's why we love Sinestro, because even though he is a jackass, there's so many layers to him. You know, he can be evil, he can be compassionate, especially when his daughter is around. You can see that he still holds Hal Jordan in his heart, even though he has a lot of hatred for him. And again, that's why we always, well, at least me, I always get excited when he's the focus of a book and or the antagonist. So guys, I know from what I understand that this wasn't a really well-received series during the New 52, but I believe Cullen Bunn really captured Sinestro. And this next character, I want to know more about them. If I could ever find issue 15, I may give it a read, and if it's worth a flip, I'll make sure to do a review on it. This particular issue was donated to the club, so it'll be going in one of the grab bags. So whoever wins this, I hope you thoroughly enjoy it as much as I did reading it and reviewing it. And with that said, if the rest of y'all, if you've enjoyed this comic book, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and grab a copy. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you won't mind hitting that fancy little lantern bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel. We love hearing your feedback and talking with y'all down in the comments below or on our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.